Today, other wheels are rolling on the superhighways of modern America. This is a story of America and some of the people.
The Greyhound Cinecruiser bus was an icon of the American way of life, crisscrossing the nation for decades after its introduction in 1954. Road travel at this time was a risky business. By the late 1960s, 52,000 people were being killed every year in traffic accidents in the United States. One wreck in eastern Tennessee would take the lives of 14 people on an early morning in May 1972. This is the story of when US 11 West did its worst, the Bean Station collision. The PD 4501 Cinecruiser soldiered on for about 20 years with Greyhound bus lines. The split-level design proved popular, allowing the bus to seat 43 people with panoramic views on the upper level. Despite some updates in the 60s, by the early 70s the Cinecruiser was beginning to show its age. On May 13, 1972, a Cinecruiser departed Knoxville, Tennessee, bound for Roanoke, Virginia, a trip of more than 5 hours. The bus was driven by 57-year-old Frank Flick, a driver employed with Greyhound for 27 years. The bus was originally scheduled for departure at 3:30 a.m., but a mechanical problem meant it became necessary to switch buses. This caused a delay of more than an hour. The bus finally got on the road at 4:45 a.m. The route through eastern Tennessee was on two-lane country roads, since no interstate highway existed in the area in the early 1970s. Between Knoxville and Bristol, Tennessee, the route traveled over the notorious US 11 West Highway. Nicknamed Bloody 11W, fatal collisions along this route were common, exacerbated by heavy truck traffic. In a one-year span before May 1972, over 1,000 collisions and 35 fatalities had occurred on this highway. By 5:30, the bus was making progress east at an average speed of 50 miles per hour. 27 passengers were aboard, including 2 young babies. Most of them were asleep at this early hour. At the same time, a Kenworth tractor-trailer truck operating for Malone Freight Lines was traveling westbound, loaded with linoleum and adhesives bound for a manufacturing plant in Memphis. The truck was driven by 38-year-old Bobby Garrison. All seemed normal so far. Flick was driving a little fast, probably to make up for the hour lost because of the need to switch buses. Ahead of the bus, a car was also traveling eastbound, carrying a driver and a hitchhiking passenger. The car and bus approached a second car that was driving slowly, and both successfully passed it using the westbound lane of the highway. At this time, most country roads were split only by white dashes, allowing drivers to pass freely. The bus accelerated and soon began to tail the car ahead of it. The driver would later describe the bus as being so close that he could not read the destination sign above the bus's windshield. As the two vehicles entered a long bend, the bus accelerated and began to execute another pass. Suddenly, the Malone semi-trailer came into view in the westbound lane. It had been obscured by another semi traveling eastbound. When the car driver realized what was about to happen, he attempted to accelerate to allow the bus back into the eastbound lane, but the car did not accelerate fast enough. The bus made no evasive action, seeming to hang there in the westbound lane. Bobby Garrison only had a couple of seconds to try and avoid the collision. At 5:35 a.m., the two vehicles collided head-on. The collision sounded like a case of dynamite exploding. The left front of the truck had struck the left front of the bus. The left-hand side of the bus was rent off and the bus was demolished, rotating counterclockwise and coming to rest 86 feet further up the road. As the bus came apart, fuel, debris, luggage, and passengers were flung across the roadway. The truck came to rest off the shoulder of the road, its load of linoleum and adhesives exploding into flames. The inferno completely consumed the truck, trapping and killing the driver. The smell of toxic fumes and burning diesel filled the air, mixing with the cries of the injured. One of the first on the scene was Jesse Coffey, a 27-year-old welder who lived close to the crash site. He was asleep when the boom of the crash woke him. As he tore his curtains open, he saw the truck skidding down the highway. He rushed to the scene where he heard a baby crying. 5-month-old Susan Trulich, one of 2 infants on board, had been thrown clear of the wreckage and left in the road. She was miraculously unhurt. Another witness, a truck driver who had been following the Malone semi-trailer, arrived on scene directly after the collision. He tried unsuccessfully to extinguish the fire that had consumed the truck, and instead ran to the bus. The huge 9.3-liter V8 engine of the bus was still running, and a small fire had erupted in the demolished engine compartment. The truck driver was able to shut off the bus's fuel valve, preventing the fire from spreading. The automobile driver whom the bus had been tailing witnessed the collision and drove ahead to the nearest truck stop where he notified the telephone operator of the horrendous collision. The operator notified the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the Granger County Sheriff's Department at 5:50 a.m., 25 minutes after the crash. It was 5:58 a.m. by the time the first members of the Granger County Rescue Squad arrived at the scene. 19 ambulances from 4 counties, 22 highway patrolmen, and firefighters from Bean Station and Morristown would respond to the accident. The scene that met them was terrible. The bus passengers, not equipped with seat restraints, had been flung across the road and throughout the destroyed bus. Some passengers had been thrown from their seats and subsequently run over by the bus before it came to rest. Rescuers used crowbars, air hammers, and acetylene torches to free the survivors from the mangled wreck. One woman was found wrapped head to toe in metal, only able to indicate she was alive by wiggling her toes and nodding her head. "I don't understand how anybody got out alive," commented one rescue squad member. The last ambulance departed the scene at 7:10 a.m., almost an hour and a half after the crash. In the end, 14 people died in one of the worst road accidents in Tennessee history. The bus driver Flick, truck driver Garrison, and 12 passengers were among the dead. Some bodies were so mangled it took until the next day to identify them. Out of the remaining 15 passengers, 14 were injured. The only passenger who escaped injury was the baby, Susan, whose mother was among the dead. They had been on their way to meet Susan's grandmother for the first time. The collision made national news. Outrage erupted around the deadliness of the narrow, twisting highway, whose danger was compounded by the heavy truck traffic over the route. Bumper stickers from the time quipped, "Pray for me, I drive bloody 11W." Indeed, even getting rescuers to the scene of the accident was difficult due to the narrow, 2-laned nature of the road. Highway patrolmen commented that there was little way to enforce highway safety, since there were very few places in which a car could be pulled over. "It was just a matter of time until something like this happened," commented Captain Guy Nicholson. The National Transportation Safety Board investigated the accident and produced a 38-page report. The conclusion as to the immediate cause of the collision was obvious. The bus had tried to pass the car ahead of it while the view of the westbound lane was obstructed. Mechanical failures and the design of the roadway were ruled out as factors in the collision. Instead, the investigation quickly centered on the driver of the bus, 57-year-old Frank Flick. Calculations by the NTSB concluded that, at the speed the 2 vehicles were traveling, and from the positions they would have initially been able to spot each other, the bus driver had approximately 3.2 seconds to see the truck and react. The witnesses of the collision were adamant that the bus had made no evasive maneuver before the collision occurred. This discrepancy was baffling to investigators. Indeed, states the NTSB report, it is very difficult to understand why the bus struck the truck at all. Why had Frank Flick failed to even attempt to avoid the collision? Frank Flick had been employed by Greyhound Bus Lines since 1945. He had a valid Virginia driver's license with a restriction for corrective lenses. An autopsy revealed no presence of narcotics or barbiturates in his system. Discovered in his possession were sleeping and heart disease pills. Further investigation into the driver's medical records revealed a history of diabetes, heart and liver disease, and several other medical conditions. Investigators discovered that in 1966, Flick had been driving a bus near Winchester, Virginia when he suffered debilitating chest pain. Following this, he was hospitalized for 23 days. In 1968, he was disqualified from driving due to high blood pressure. He returned to duty only 18 days later. He remained qualified until January 1972, when he was again disqualified. He returned to work in April of that year and remained qualified until the accident. Flick was also under supervision of his doctor for diabetes. For this, he took hypoglycemic pills and maintained a strict diet. However, no such pills were found in his possession. The autopsy did not conclude whether he had taken any such drugs. If he had not, he may have become drowsy while driving. This might explain why he ran off the road while passing the slow-moving car, and why he did not attempt to avoid the oncoming truck. Despite this analysis, the NTSB report was not able to conclude that the driver's medical conditions materially contributed to the accident. The reason why Frank Flick did not try to steer his bus out of danger, saving the lives of those aboard, is simply not known. He may have had a heart attack or been too drowsy to react. There may have been a mechanical failure of the bus. The report was not able to provide a definitive cause for the crash. The NTSB report ended with a number of conclusions and recommendations. The lack of a double yellow line at the site of the accident meant that the bus driver felt able to pass the car, despite the obstructed view. The lack of seat restraints contributed to fatalities by ejecting passengers from the bus and sending others into sharp protrusions. More widely, the crash renewed calls for the completion of the parallel Interstate 81, as well as the widening of US 11 West to 4 lanes. Country western singer Jim McGinnis released a song in 1973 detailing the events of the collision, entitled 11W Bloody Highway. It concludes with a call to action.
At least let's try to do something about 11W Bloody Highway.
The record of Highway 11 West is written in tragedy, the governor of Tennessee, Winfield Dunn, stated. At the time, support for widening 11 West was so widespread that some residents offered to donate land to that end. While Interstate 81 through eastern Tennessee was completed in 1974, plans to widen 11 West were met with NIMBYism in some places, including in Grainger County where the collision occurred. While much of the road is now 4 lanes, US 11 West at the site of the accident remains a 2-lane road through the present day. The accident at Bean Station would forever change the lives of those affected when a big Greyhound met a semi-truck on a bloody morning in 1972. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more.